Support for Another Round comes from Texture, the app that gives you unlimited access to over 200 magazines like Ebony, Teen Vogue, National Geographic, and more. Just imagine having your favorite magazines and their back issues anytime, anywhere. To start your free trial of Texture, go to texture.com/anotherround. Support for Another Round comes from Quip, an electric toothbrush that packs premium vibration and timer features into an ultra-slim design that starts at just $25. Go to getquip.com/anotherround right now to get your first refill pack free with a Quip electric toothbrush. That's getquip.com/anotherround. Hey everybody, it's Tracy, and I am here to say thank you because in just a few short hours after going on sale, our December 7th Kwanzaa Spectacular show completely sold out. So thank you to everyone who made that happen. And for those who were not able to get tickets, guess what? We added a second show on December 8th at 8 p.m. also at the Bell House. It's going to be so much fun. We have actual MacArthur genius in the house, Nicole Hannah-Jones. We have Gene Demby of NPR's Code Switch podcast. And we have the best and most famous DJ in all of podcasting, DJ Don Will. They're all going to be with us in the house on the stage. We're going to have some trap remixes. We're going to do some Deck in the Halls and some Drunken Debates and some Coogee Chagaleen and some Ujamas and all the other principles. It's going to be lit. You should come see. Tickets go on sale Saturday, December 8th at noon. Don't miss out. See you there.
Hi, everyone. I'm Heben.
I'm Tracy.
And welcome to Another Round with Heben and I'm Tracy.
Yay!
Yay, indeed. Yay, indeed.
Hi, Heben.
Hi, Tracy McGee.
What's up?
Nothing much.
Just hanging out
Yeah.
in the stude.
Hey, yeah.
Talking about stuff and things.
Stuff and things.
I heard that you went outside recently.
What? I heard you went outside recently.
What? Who's been telling my business?
Yo, remember when we told y'all to go outside and then we went outside?
Yeah, I
That was
never take my
amazing.
own advice.
I know.
What I did this time. Where'd you go? What did you do outside?
I went to the Brooklyn Botanical Garden.
Ooh.
I have lived in New York forever now. Mm-hmm. It's been like a good 8 years and I still haven't been.
I still don't fully understand what it is. It's just like a big ass garden.
You know, I will give you that. I feel like most New York things, it like looks like it takes up some space, and then you walk in and it's like, whoa, there's a whole thing here.
So I only see it on my way to Prospect Park, and it's just like this little bitty entrance like on the corner, and I'm just like,
It's deceptive.
in my head, it really
multitudes.
is just like a really tiny garden, and people just like,
Nah. You're
No?
sleeping on it.
Okay,
It's
so you
just-
walk in and then
It's huge. It has like, you know those things where it's like different ecosystems that you can like feel the temperature changes and stuff?
Oh, like the tropical
Yeah,
climate
you can
segment
be-
at the zoo?
Yeah, you can be like
Ooh.
sweating and dewy in the tropical rainforest and then like in a desert landscape and then in like
Whoa.
just a flowery garden. You know, like they got a lot of stuff in that like tiny little alcove that you see.
So what do you like? What did you like about being there? What did you do when you got there? Just like
I
walk
feel
around
like
with
it's
the
good for like a stroll. It was perfect fall weather when I went.
Ooh.
So it was just like a brisk stroll with friends.
Aw.
There's a lot of like old people reading on a bench or just enjoying the scenery, thinking, meditating, people doing exercise, yoga, people doing
What?
photo shoots.
That sounds so fun.
I met my favorite flower, my new favorite flower.
Oh my gosh, what is it?
It's called a black velvet petunia. It looks
Of course
so
it is.
dramatic, like me. I've been trying to find a perfect black velvet dress ever since because I was like, wow, this is me, and I don't have the proper accoutrement to properly celebrate my lineage. You know, this is what I come from.
You gotta pick up the ancestors
Yes,
in your ceremonial robes.
exactly. My ceremonial like bodycon black velvet dress.
Your mixtape and or your first edition of poetry that you're gonna publish one day.
Oh God, it's true.
Black Velvet Petunia.
It is I have arrived.
Aw, I want to go.
Yeah. So highly recommend going outside like we said. But I'm going to just
Follow
extra
our
big up our own
advice.
advice. Where did you go?
Oh my gosh.
Yo, nature's popping.
I went to camp with my friends.
What?
And when I
My
say that,
dream.
so
You know how I feel about the Parent Trap.
I do, which I still have not seen.
I know. It's okay. I still forgive you.
But no, me and my friends, the world famous Buttertones.
Yes. Oh.
If this is the first time that you're hearing of the Buttertones, shame on you.
I'm back through the archives.
Yeah. My friend Akoto Ofori Ata is the other singing member of the Buttertones. This is our fictional musical group. That one
It's
day,
real. It's real.
You know what? That's
it's
right.
Real to me.
That's right. This is real. It's real. I love this group of friends because we all like check in with each other and try to like uplift and encourage and like, what are you working on? Like, how can we we are just all trying to like help everybody else in the group.
Yes, Black
glow
Girl
up
group chat.
as quick as possible, right? So me and Akoto were drunk one day, and I was just like, yo, we should just like get a house and just like go upstate and make stuff and just be alone together. And she was like, alone together? That is a thing. And then we were like, wait, maybe we should do this. And maybe we should just like get the group together, get a cabin. We went upstate.
Buttertones, assemble!
Buttertones. And it was so neat. Like we had a schedule of like events and stuff.
Ooh,
Yes,
y'all had
like
a full out. Okay.
it was like a for real like retreat.
Okay.
And so we went, everybody had a goal in mind, like something that you want to work on, something that you want to accomplish. I wanted to finish writing my sample chapter for my proposal, which I did not do, but I did some of it because I felt so inspired and helped and creative. And then somebody else was like starting a newsletter and, you know, just like a whole bunch. So like we all had stuff that we wanted to achieve. And so it was like, all right, from this hour to this hour, it's breakfast. One of our friends, Glenn, is like, if he is not like an actual chef, like a chef-ass chef, he should be. So he would like just make gourmet meals every day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. The last meal was fucking Brussels sprouts. Have you ever seen like Brussels sprouts on a stalk, like the way that they grow? I was like, what is this shit?
I sure as hell have not, Tracy McGee.
He had one of those. It was just like a big trunk with Brussels sprouts on it. And I was like, okay, I guess that's how they grow.
Wow.
So the last meal was filet mignon and these fancy ass Brussels sprouts. And it was just like, it was so fancy. So anyway, in the mornings, we had family breakfast. Then it's like disperse, work on your thing, or do whatever the fuck you want. And then like we scheduled like brainstorms in case somebody like had something they wanted help on. Like we workshop some ideas. And then we ate some more and then we drank.
Yes.
And it was just beautiful. There were like mountains in the background. It was. It really, really was. Then I had to come back to New York and I was like, well, back to the city. And I was like, But yeah, it reminded me that I really need to do that more. Just like go outside and
take
sit.
a break.
Let's take a break.
Run away with us for the summer. Let's go upstate. Oh my God, that's what you did.
Oh my gosh, we did.
We went upstate.
We went upstate, and it was really, really nice. I don't, as a kid, I never went to like sleepaway camp because it's just not in my personal ministry as somebody who has anxiety. I was like, you want me to sleep somewhere else on purpose? With kids I don't know? No. So this to me, like I started to call it Camp Buttertone. So it's like my first official like camp.
Oh my God, I'm so jealous.
You wanna
I wanna come to adult sleepaway camp.
Let's do it.
And then play like the Bad to the Bone song as we're like playing poker. This is all from The Parent Trap, Tracy. Oh my God.
References that I don't get. I'm sorry.
I just want to be a cool kid with shades playing poker, okay?
So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to watch The Parent Trap, and then we're going to have Camp Heben and Tracy.
Oh, my God.
Let's do it.
Oh, my God. I'm so excited.
Let's do it like right now. Let's just leave.
Wow.
Bye. Y'all should also go outside. That's great advice. And speaking of great advice, look at that transition. We have the one and only Stacy-Marie Ishmael, Stacy's Career Corner, back again. You've been asking for her. You've been missing her. So have we. We understand when Stacy-Marie is not near, the sun just doesn't shine as bright.
You're right.
Colors aren't as vibrant. If nothing else, like if you have like the perfect job, then just sit back and just listen to her accent. And you're welcome.
Listen to her voice. Oh. Sorry. Did that get weird? Sorry, Stacy-Marie.
It was weird because it just stopped so abruptly. We were just like, oh.
She has an excellent voice.
She does. And so here is Stacy-Marie. Enjoy. Back by enormously popular demand.
Yes.
And I think this is like the first most requested segment. Close.
No pressure.
A close second, Tracy's Joke Time.
It's true.
That's fair. That's fair. That is a superior segment.
Y'all can already hear. We are in the stew with Stacy-Marie Ishmael.
Hey, the god, the queen, the icon, the legend.
Yes.
Can I have a recording just of that to start my day?
Yes. Make it your ringtone.
Done.
You're welcome.
Done.
Who is Stacy-Marie? Stacy-Marie is joy and light.
Yes.
She's
Professional
smart.
rabble-rouser, I would say.
Yeah, fantastic Twitter.
Yes, et cetera, et cetera.
Et cetera, et
Just a
cetera.
woman about the town.
That's all I do.
Yeah.
What town you ask? All the towns.
Just the towns.
The town of the universe. The city of Townsville.
Yes.
Welcome back.
Welcome back, Stacy-Marie. How are you?
I'm good, yo. Well, as much as one can be.
Amen.
You know what? I feel like I have once a week a conversation about how loaded a question, how are you?
Yes.
Now is. Like, how are you? It's like, well,
Not great, Bob. Not great.
Do what you can. You keep breathing. You keep breathing. In and out. In and out.
Let's go back a little.
Yep.
I feel like no woman I know has ever worked in a place where they did not experience harassment. And it's like, oh my God, imagining a world without that sometimes feels difficult. What would you say we all can do to build better workplaces?
Believe people even when you dislike them.
Ooh. Already.
I've been thinking a lot about this. I've been thinking a lot about a lot of things. It's just that kind of year. And one thing about me is I generally don't participate in this sort of like public sharing of feelings. You know, this ongoing conversation with I suppose, professional therapists.
Same boat, girl. I'm in the same boat.
But partly because I have always seen my role, or a lot of my roles, as just like giving people space, supporting them. And I'm a giant coward. But I think a lot about the fact that it is easier for us to believe and support people that we like. And that is one of the things that sets up the power dynamic that lets this happen. Because so much of the time, the people who are getting the most harassment, whether it's sexual or verbal or just, you know, the litany of microaggressions, or is it just Tuesday to close an episode?
I see what you did.
Is because
That's a painful callback.
is because they're often people who nobody would believe in the first place.
People who are presumed to not be cared about very much.
Not be cared about. And Bim, friend of the show, made the point in a really good piece that it's about power. It's not about anything else except power. And so often the people that we dislike are also ones who don't have the same kinds of access to power. Or counterintuitively, they're people that we think are so powerful, nothing would happen to them. And I've really been reflecting on that, and I've thought about a couple of times where I might hear something and I might not react the same way because I'm like, yeah, I don't care about that person. And that's what really sets this up. And I feel like I've been guilty of that for sure.
Man, drag me.
What would you recommend to someone who may not feel safe reporting workplace harassment but is experiencing it?
I mean, the reality is most workplaces are not set up to be supportive of this kind of thing. Even the well-meaning ones, and perhaps especially the well-meaning ones who tend to think that they are.
Oof.
And the number one thing that you can do is receipts. Screenshots, emails, things in writing, other people present,
Yo,
dates,
low-key, I've learned a lot from
times.
James Comey.
I thought you were going to say the good wife.
everything
I was gonna
down.
say that.
Also the good way. Write everything down.
Yeah.
Tell it to third parties.
Yeah, because if you do, the thing that is, you know, HR as a function is there to protect the organization. And sometimes protecting the organization aligns with giving you support. Sometimes it does not. And part of their job is to make sure that they have like done the groundwork and established, you know, dates, times, places, names. And if you don't have those, it's harder for you. And the thing that's really unfair is in the moment when a terrible thing is happening to you, your first thought is like, let me just write this down.
Right.
That's not how our brains
not how
work. That's not
humans
our
work.
response to trauma. It's not our response to any of these things. But that's the part that separates often the people who win the lawsuit and the ones who don't. That and the likability thing. But, you know, the first step is acknowledging that this is not a responsibility of the individual who's being harassed. This is the responsibility of the hiring managers and the directors and the operators and the VPs to build environments in which there are structures in place that are going to support people when they come forward.
So what happens if you go to HR, you're doing all the right things, following all the steps, quote unquote, and HR is treating you unfairly? What do you do then?
Well, I think you can never expect fairness from a corporation, right? That's sort of the first mistake that we make is, and especially in workplaces that like to be friendly and flat and non-hierarchical, they elide the reality of the power differential, and they elide the fact that, and you know, I've said this before, like as soon as somebody can fire you, you can't be friends with them. And so our perception of fairness is something that we ascribe to somebody that we think of as like a colleague or a peer. And whenever you're in these conversations, you're no longer in conversations with colleagues and peers. You're in conversations with organizations and structures. And so you have to go into it knowing that this is not set up to help you succeed, right? This is set up to be a very specific process of information gathering and verification and making decisions about what's going to happen. But the thing that we have found out is there is strength in numbers. And the line that I am so sick of is like, well, why did everybody wait this long?
Oh my gosh.
I'm like, yo, do you know how hard it is to be the first one or the second one or the third one? Like it legit takes somebody like a Lupita or an Ashley Judd to come out and say, yes, this happened to me, for other people who are like, oh yeah, me too, because suddenly it's almost as if you have permission. And that is not a permission that you can just grant yourself.
One of the most infuriating things, I mean, every week is a week of infuriating things, but on this very point of asking why the women didn't come forward soon or at all, some woman that I didn't know that she existed before this very day until she threw her career away. Her name is Sunny Anderson, apparently. Had a show on the Food Network, Food TV, something. Some black lady with a cooking show.
Oh, a black lady.
A black lady, yes. So I'm just like, man, I didn't even know. I could have been supporting you. Didn't even know. But now I'm glad that I did not support you, because she was just going off about how the women who are just now coming forward had to have like been paid off or something, and why weren't they strong enough to do this or that. And then the thing that like,
how hard can I roll my eyes?
The thing that had me like, wow, lady, fuck you, I can't wait to not watch anything that you're on for the rest of your life. She actually typed the phrase, quiet women create monsters.
I am very loud.
Listen.
And even I am hella loud. And even I have been in situations where you do a calculation of, do I speak up now or do I protect my job and the jobs of everybody around me and try to figure out how to get them out of this situation, because you know the power differential is so great that nothing you do in that moment is going to make a difference, and it might even make it worse.
Especially if you're a woman of color.
Exactly. And I mean, this is the thing that people consistently underestimate, and it's usually people who have never had to make that choice themselves, or people who made that choice so long ago they've managed to tell themselves that they didn't. And it's just like, yo, unless you have been in that situation, unless you have been in that room, unless you have experienced those feelings of like, wait, what just happened? Was this me? Did I do something wrong? Hang on. Am I overreacting? Like, you don't know what that escalation is like until you've been in that escalation. And then you don't know what it is like to have to consider, can I afford to lose this job right now? Right? How am I going to pay my bills? Will I get another job? Am I going to be branded the person that took down so-and-so, even if we know the consequences for so-and-so is they'll probably get promoted? Like, that is just, it's
a lot to
unfair.
consider.
Yeah.
Ooh-wee.
Yeah.
It's difficult being alive.
No joke.
I don't know. I just like, I rarely log on to Facebook, and I logged on the other day, and I was heartened, but also just so saddened to see how many Me Too stories that women were presenting about just their own experiences.
And then inevitably,
of being
there's a
harassed.
dude being like, oh, I had no idea. I'm like, you are the problem.
Yeah. You're not helping. Like, you don't have to say a word right now in this space, because this
Maybe-
is not about you.
Or maybe it is.
Let's talk about men for a second. Let's go out. There's been a lot of just like men sort of falling over themselves to be like, oh, look at me, I am not trash.
Yeah.
I am a good
Yeah.
man.
And then what happens 5 minutes later? Something's like, by the way, they're trash.
I know. It's like they were all at the meeting like, okay, guys, this is it. This is our chance.
I don't know. I feel like I've been getting a few like tweets and stuff. People know not to come at me with these kind of like expecting you to solve
Hashtag not all men.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know. I'm curious what you have made of men this week and the last few weeks. What are the men in your lives talking about? How are they responding? I don't know. What do we do with men? Is where I'm left this week. As every week.
I think one of the more interesting things that happened was around like Terry Crews and James Vanderbeek. So Terry Crews comes out and says, hey, I too was sexually assaulted. And James Vanderbeek, you may know him as Dawson, came out and also said, you know, like, this has been happening. This has been happening to us too. And I thought it was interesting that it took women speaking up for men to speak up. That was one. The second is I thought it was interesting that the first dude who spoke up was a black dude. Because, you know, like kind of going back to the power differentials. And then the third thing is I looked at the responses to them and I compared it to the responses to, say, like Ashley Judd and any of the other women who came out on the record. And it was so much less why didn't you do anything, and more surprise. And it was more people being like, oh, I had no idea that this could happen to you too. Whereas when women say something, it's more like, well, you should have done this differently. And so, and that is even in, you know, men in my life who would consider themselves evolved. They're the difference in their reaction to when a guy speaks up about something to when a woman speaks up about something, it comes back to that whole thing, can I see myself in this situation? And the projection of how they do that, so that even when they're being supportive, their ability to be supportive and their ability to be constructive is through this lens of, well, you can't really empathize, and so you don't really understand. You know, or it's things like, well, if it happened to so many people, why was he never fired? Or if it happened to so many people, why isn't he in jail? And then you are like, do I really need to explain the criminal justice system to you right now?
Right. Also, do I have
haven't even
time,
had
and are
coffee
you
yet.
paying me?
And, you know, so all of these interconnected things around, well, how does power work? Statutes of, you know, limitation, non-disclosure agreements, economic need. Like, I don't know if I have the time to engage with that on that level, but at the same time, you also feel like you have a responsibility to check them in their own behavior. But I'm like, yo, I'm so tired. You know, I'm so tired. But what I do appreciate about, maybe it's just a reflection of the dudes who I allow to be around me.
I'm sorry, who are allowed to be around me. Yes, y'all heard that correctly.
I don't know if you can hear my keyboard keys, but I'm taking notes. Seriously.
Is the ones who have, even the ones who've expressed surprise says, what do I do if I see something like this happen? Right? And I think the devotion to concrete action is really important. And my response is usually, it's definitely happening. And if you don't know, it's because you have not established that you are trustworthy. And so
I'm just gonna
think about
slow clap. Just because you don't see it don't mean it's not there.
Right.
Listen.
You know, so think about why it is that none of your direct reports, none of your colleagues, nobody has ever come to you and said, hey, this is a thing. Because, like, what kinds of signals are you giving off that have not indicated that you are somebody that is reliable? They don't always like that, but tough. Yeah.
That's real.
It is real. I want to backtrack a second to something that you said about Terry Crews. You pointed out that it was interesting that a black man was the first man to speak out. Are you surprised by that?
I'm not, nothing in 2017 surprises me anymore. But I do think that one of the things that we know is when you think about power differentials, you know, like black women and black men continue to have less power than even white women in Hollywood. And they have less money and they have less access. And, you know, counterintuitively, it's often us who do the work and take the risks. Right? You know, so you would expect it's the powerful who speak up, but we know that power does weird things to your brain. And so I did, you know, I mean, if we go back into history, it was like Corey Haim and Corey Feldman, who were white actors, child actors, who nobody believed them when they said there are terrible things that are happening here. Nobody believed them. So, you know, none of this is, there's nothing new under the sun, but I do think that who is finding the ability to say Me Too is interesting and we need to support them.
Yeah.
And do some more self-interrogation.
Yes. And it's happening in every industry. I know Michaela Maroney from the USA Women's Gymnastics team came out recently talking about the story of the team doctor who has for decades molested a bunch of people.
That broke my heart to know that she was victimized before she won the gold medal.
And she was a little girl, you know, barely a teenager.
Oh, my God.
And it was the doctor who has, according to the accusations working themselves through court, has done this to dozens and dozens and dozens of girls. You're like, well, what is the threshold at which people face consequences? You know, it's very unevenly applied.
And that sucks because consequences are the only thing that will change behavior for white people and men. And they get them so rarely, you know? And it's just like, how can we expect anything to change? Speaking of the Me Too hashtag, something that I wanted to say just really quickly is that it was so beautiful and empowering and inspiring to see everybody who were able to and ready to come forward with their stories. But I wanted to remind folks that if you have a similar story and you didn't feel that you could share yours or you didn't want to share yours for whatever reason, I just want to remind you that that's okay. I think that a lot of times in times like this, we get really wrapped up, and it makes sense. We get wrapped up in the in everything that comes with choosing to open yourself and your story up. And those people definitely deserve to be commended. But just a reminder that your story is yours. You can share it when you want to.
Or
you can
never.
keep it to yourself forever. Absolutely. It's okay. It doesn't make you more or less of anything at all. And I just wanted to remind folks of that.
Amen.
Whether you're looking for dependable political reporting, high-quality storytelling, or the latest on culture and entertainment, magazines deliver it all with high-quality writing and beautiful photography. And now you can get all your magazines in one place with Texture. The Texture app gives you unlimited access to over 200 premium magazines. Texture has leading titles like Time, The Atlantic, The New Yorker, Vanity Fair, and Wired. And right now, you can try Texture for free. Just imagine having your favorite magazines and their back issues anytime, anywhere. To start your Texture free trial, go to texture.com/another round. If you choose to continue, Another Round listeners will get Texture for just $9.99 a month. That's over 30% off their listed price. There are also great gift options available for the holiday season. Go to texture.com/another round to start your free trial today. That's texture.com/another round. One more time, that's texture.com/another round. Here's something to chew on. Many recent studies suggest that having good oral health impacts your overall health, yet most of us don't brush our teeth properly. You can start brushing better today. Introducing Quip, the new company that's refreshing the way people brush their teeth. Quip is an electric toothbrush that packs premium vibration and timer features into an ultra-slim design that's half the cost of bulkier brushes. It's basically like Apple designed an electric toothbrush, but without the big price tag, because Quip starts at just $25. You have to see it and brush with it yourself. You can even subscribe to receive new brush heads on a dentist-recommended 3-month plan for just $5, including free shipping. Quip is backed by leading dentists and was named as one of Time Magazine's best inventions of 2016. They also won a 2016 GQ Grooming Award and made it onto Oprah's 2017 New Year's O list. Go to getquip.com/another round right now to get your first refill pack free with a Quip electric toothbrush. That's your first refill pack free at getquip.com/another round. GETQUIP.com/another round. So I want everybody to know that the person who wrote this letter said really nice things about us up top. I don't want to not acknowledge that, but it feels weird to just read it. So thank you, girl. Okay. Hi, Tracy and Heben and Stacy. As a woman who is leading a team of all kinds of individuals, how do you deal with the casual sexism of being stereotyped into a quote-unquote feminazi character? Thanks, y'all. Sincerely, Megana.
That cackle you heard was Stacy-Marie Ishmael about to answer this question.
So,
Yo. Any of you read like The Art of War or The Prince or anything from like Sun Tzu and Machiavelli?
oh my
So-
God.
Yes.
So there's this great line in Machiavelli in which the eponymous author asks, is it better to be loved or feared? And I feel like that line has been very helpful for me in thinking about, do I want to be effective or do I want to be liked? And it's real hard, right? So there's a bunch of things embedded in this question. One is, are you conflating people responding to you in a position of power with you wanting friends at work? Because basically, the more senior that you are, even if you are super accessible, even if you are actually super friendly and cool with everyone, you're still in charge. And what is our natural response to people in charge? Well, I don't know you, but I actively dislike them.
Just off GP, have a problem with authority.
It's like it's a
Been that way
basic
since kindergarten.
principle. I mean, I went to a Montessori school. It started young. I'm like, oh, you're in charge? Nah.
We got problems.
And so, this is sort of embedded in human psychology. Somebody telling you what to do, you're not going to respond well to it. A person who does not look like you telling you what to do, you're going to like it even less. A person who is historically not in a position of power, who also does not look like you telling you what to do, it's like you're not going to work. Not going to work. And yes, the answer is, well, no, there's no answer to this, but the framework that you're operating in is, in general, and there's good amounts of research on this, women, and especially minority women in positions of power, are always going to be perceived less favorably for doing exactly the same things, using the same words, having the same number or not of exclamation marks in an email as a person from a historically overrepresented group in that same job. And that is part of the decision that you have to make and the awareness that you have to have going into these situations. You are not going to be treated the same. But the questions that you have to ask are, given that you know you're not going to be treated the same, how do you continue to be effective? How do you manage that team? How do you establish respect? Because people don't have to like you to respect you. It helps. Definitely makes it easier. You sleep better at night. But it's not a necessary part of the job, right? You know, often when you love your boss, it's because they let you do whatever you want.
Wow.
Heaven's like, yeah. All my favorite teachers is like, how fast? Girl, go ahead.
And so, you know, do you get to let everybody do whatever they want and still run a successful team? Rarely. Can you get better, perhaps, at figuring out how to incentivize them and figure out what makes that team function and depersonalize it from how they perceive you? Yes. Is it easy? No. These are, you know, this is why being a manager is hard, and I generally don't recommend it. But you have to know that you're going in with a deficit. You're going in with certain perceptions that are going to be applied to you specifically that other people don't necessarily have to deal with.
And once you accept that as like just like truth and like a matter of fact, even though it sucks, like having to accept that people are just going to see you and treat you more harshly and like evaluate you more harshly just because of who you are, that sucks. But once you can accept that,
acceptance is a magical thing.
Listen, then you can stop like expecting or hoping to go in one day and everybody's going to just like love you, you know? You just like, I know what this is. This is a part of the job that I also accept. And there's like a freedom in that. You don't have to like worry about it and wish against it anymore.
Yeah. And one of the other important things when you're in these situations is make sure that you are you doing the work is the other part of this, right? Because I think fundamentally as a manager, you have to do a decent job, or you should do a decent job in addition to keeping your team functioning and everything else. Is like you have to be doing the work, and it is not enough to just be doing the work. It's like, do people know that you're doing the work? Which is sort of the other challenge of being from an underrepresented background in one of these positions, is because you go in with that trust deficit, because you go in and people are like, how did you get this job? You know, was it affirmative action? You're starting at you always have to be, it's the twice as hard thing. Like it's the completely classic situation.
Shout out to Olivia. The sad.
And so do people know that you're doing the work? Do people know that you're effective? Are you managing up and sideways and communicating that? And are you also making sure that you are not letting the fact that you are mad at your team for how they perceive you hurt your ability to help them? Because we don't get brownie points for anything, we still have to make sure that our team has the resources that they need to do the work, even when you're like, oh, I'm so mad at you. Here, there's the project, though. So,
Word.
Adulting is just not fair.
No, it super sucks.
And it's not fair that some adults don't have to do it. They just get to sit down and hire people to do all the adulting for them.
And people with trust funds.
Yeah.
I'm ready for a sugar daddy.
Can we talk about it though?
The thing with sugar daddies, though, is like it's so high maintenance. You know, there's so many spin classes and like dry bar appointments involved.
Oh, I didn't think about the particulars.
The upkeep.
Yeah.
You know?
Because listen, once I get comfortable, I'm just like, you know what? We'll go to dinner. We'll come home. We'll watch Wheel of Fortune. I get up, go shopping.
Like,
Watch, rinse, and repeat.
More and more I daydream about that lifestyle. So much.
Hey, as long as you're committing to 6-inch heels and lipstick every day, you already got the lipstick part
do
down.
that.
I can give you a lip and a hip.
Yeah.
I don't know about the 6 inches. If they're
Fuck it, I'll
platforms,
do it.
I got you. Platforms are in.
Let's surgically remove my pinky toes if I must, or have another one sewn on. I don't know what else.
Balance them out. You know. Throw it somewhere balanced.
Hit them with the balance. Okay.
I have some personal curiosity questions for you.
Ooh.
Just
Bring it
like I don't know, I hear all these like systems for like email management, or like people are like, I only check my email at like this hour, or like I have a, what is that method where you like do 25 minutes of
Pomodoro.
work, and see, they got names and shit.
Bet.
Do you have
crazy.
any of those that you abide by? Just any of those sort of like organizing mechanisms for email, for productivity kind of things that you are like, this is a method for me.
I am most productive when I do yoga.
Say more.
The thing that I have noticed is I am very easily distracted, right? And science is not on our side when it comes to telling ourselves that we can multitask.
Science don't add up.
I'm like, I could totally answer emails while in this conference call and pay attention at the same
Science
time.
is like, you thought.
Let me just be scrolling through Twitter and reading this book. That's not how that's going to go down. And I find that whenever I put into my schedule that I'm going to take this class that's 90 minutes away from a screen, or if I bike to work and I can't look at the screen because then I'll crash my bike, or if I do, 10 minutes of just deep breathing and mindfulness meditation in the morning, because I have just trained myself to only do one thing, it is so much easier to then do one thing at a time. And in the same way that when I actually go to the gym, it's easier to keep going to the gym, the second that I stop, everything falls off because I'm like 22 tabs, 5 books I'm trying
You're
to
like,
read.
remember how much fun life is when you don't work out?
It's like,
The internet's here.
yeah, let me listen to this podcast on 3X. I can totally catch up.
God. No, 3X. Yo, I just recently heard about people listening to podcasts at
Yeah,
different
it's
speeds.
garbage.
I cannot even imagine a 3X speed.
I don't recommend it, but
What is that, chipmunks talking?
Exactly.
Yes.
It is chipmunks talking, especially when you can't tell the voices apart anyway. And so my number one productivity tip is chill the fuck out.
Whoa.
Wow, this is mind-blowing. Have you heard of one task at a time? Turn to your partner and say, let's try one task at a time.
There's this website from a million years ago called Do Nothing for 2 minutes.
Ooh.
And all it is it challenges you to not touch your computer keyboard or mouse for 2 minutes. Guess how many times I fail, right? I'm like, oh, it's 59 seconds. Let me just, damn it.
That is stressful just to think about.
And it's like a super good reminder that I'm constantly multitasking, even when I think I'm only doing one thing at a time.
Let me block this website now.
And
so real.
I really do try, if I'm having lunch with somebody, to put my phone in my bag, because the mere presence of my phone on my
The
table.
turn downward
Yeah,
face.
it's
Stop playing games.
Turn downward face is not even enough. If I can see it, I'm thinking, ooh, what's happening on Twitter?
No,
You
in
know,
the purse.
if
Put
I'm-
it in the bag.
Right. If I'm in a meeting, I'm going to take notes by hand, or
Word, okay.
just like, how can I? Let me just quote my yoga teacher for a minute. How can I be mindful and present? And I get so much more done.
Okay, that's a great
I
productivity
need
tip.
to be Buddhist again. It was such
no.
a chill 2 months for me. I'm going to write that down on my to-do list.
Be Buddhist again. Try it out.
Just like
Check.
do one thing at a time, Do one thing at a time.
Okay. Just one thing, if you will.
yes, I will. I will allow it.
Yay.
Yes.
Okay. New life to save. You ready? I'm starting a diversity and inclusion initiative at my office. And it's a PWI. PWI, of course, means
Predominantly white institution. It's depressing as heck.
Take it from me.
But the reality.
Literally. 4 years of my life.
Tracy McGee, we getting too real in these streets.
I know. Let's
Let's
bring
reel
it
it
back.
in. Let's reel it in.
Bring it back.
Usable content.
Deep breathing. Deep breathing.
Deep breathing.
Okay. My boss is also an older, psychologically abusive white man who isn't held to any accountability measures, which makes it very hard to make any real sort of progress with the initiative.
It's not funny at all, listeners.
It's not.
It's just delirium and
It's
like
just
anger
like-
and like what else can we do at
It's
this
just
point?
like, of course.
Of course it is.
Again.
Of course.
More psychologically abusive white men. I work at a college office and want to make space for marginalized students to have access to our resources, but feel completely stifled by oppressive leadership.
Dang.
Strategies/ideas on how to curtail abusive, unchecked white male dominance in the workplace,
Woo.
if you could.
But yeah,
I feel like you're angry.
yes.
I get a lot of rage from this question.
Word.
I see myself in this question.
And the problem is, rage is a useful emotion. It's very useful, but it's exhausting. It's super
Takes a lot
exhausting.
out of
It takes a
you.
lot out of you, and it makes you it's not sustainable, right? And the way that you set this up, I'm like, why are you still working there?
Tracy's catching her breath for a second.
Rage is not sustainable. Oh my God. Yo, you know how much rage is in my body all the time.
That's why I do yoga and ride my bike. But I say this with love and appreciation for what you're trying to do, but I also say this with, are you sure that you just don't want to be like mad at people, or do you want to get this thing done? Because if you want to get the thing done, you have to sort of separate how angry you are about it from what you're trying to achieve. Because if you are so angry and so stressed and so focused on the impossibility of the task that you described, the task becomes impossible, right? And any of the small things that you might be able to do to change this, like, do you actually need permission to start this? Are there programs that you can kick off right now? Can you just do outreach to these students in the meantime without needing to kind of escalate things off the chain? You can do those things, but you can only do them effectively if you let go of how mad you are at your boss.
Ugh.
And figuring
How
out...
Swayford.
Listen.
How do you do that?
Woo. And I feel like the thing is sometimes you can't. And then I think the thing is trying to figure out and
Right.
decide when you just can't.
And that's the thing, right? It's like, if you cannot do that, then the questions that you have to ask yourself are completely different. It's like, why are you staying? And if you have to stay, what can you do that you can do? Versus, don't set yourself up for failure because you are not emotionally and mentally prepared to figure out how to make this work.
I had a follow-up, but I don't even remember what it is.
Yeah, honestly, I'm too much in my feelings right now.
My goodness.
I want to get back to the second part of that question, though. Strategies and ideas for how to curtail abusive, unchecked white male dominance in the workplace. It's large, but also what are concrete ways you feel like you do that?
I feel like you can't curtail that behavior, can you? Like, can you make a white man less abusive by being like, can you not? You know?
Often in these situations, the people who are trying to change behavior don't necessarily have the same amount of power. Everything's about power these days, eh? But they might have allies. They might have people who do. Some time ago in media, there was a story about how women in the Obama White House, rest in peace, would boost each other in meetings. And so that if a woman made a point in a meeting and a dude tried to talk over her, one of the other women would say like, oh, Kim, really interesting point. So glad you made it. Reinforcing a certain kind of behavior and reinforcing certain kinds of voices.
Takes a village to deal with
It takes a village. And I think one of the things that is interesting to me about this question is it starts from a place of weakness. It starts from a place of, that this is the status quo and I can't change it. And maybe because I like making my life hard and complicated, I try to think of it as, okay, if this is the status quo, what can I do to burn shit down? But also more practically day to day, how can I find the people who also disagree? And how can I find the people who might think, what if we change things? What if we change the narrative of this story, right? And too often we go into this. I'm a very combative person, so I say this from a place of love. I think too often we go into this thinking the only option is burning everything to the ground, and often, sometimes, yes, maybe. But there's usually channels, back channels, front channels, avenues to other people who might also have reservations but never necessarily spoke up because they didn't know that was shared by anybody else. And so a really important thing, especially in corporate structures, is to figure out who was the other person in the meeting who looked unimpressed when some kind of bad behavior happened, right? Who was the person who said, no, wait, I think Kim did have a really good point. And how do you find those people and activate those people? And how do you change the norms around what you're doing and try to reset where people are coming from? And I do think that's powerful. It's not easy, it's not straightforward, and it's not quick.
Sounds exhausting.
Again, how hard do you want your life to be? But if you're trying to make systemic change in organizations, nothing's going to be fast and nothing's going to be easy, but you have to be deliberate and you have to be strategic about it, and it can't just be you. Right? Because if you're the only person trying to change behavior, then you just become that weird person that everybody's like, oh, it's Stacy again. Whereas if suddenly it's like somebody else who's not you who has your ideas, and I think a long time ago I said something like, if you want to get things done, you have to be comfortable not getting any credit. And yeah, can you make this somebody else's idea, right? Somebody who might have more political capital, somebody who might have more sway, somebody who might have the right complexion, whatever it takes, and like make this something that they also champion, because that's often what it comes down to.
There's a piece in the Washington Post about that Obama White House strategy. They call it amplification, basically. Female staffers adopted a meeting strategy they called amplification. When a woman made a key point, other women would repeat it, give credit to its author. This forced the men in the room to recognize the contribution and denied them the chance to claim the idea as their own.
There you go.
Yo, shout out to the women in the Obama White House. Amen. I'm also, I'm a fan of sometimes you gotta shame white people.
Oh, for sure.
Embarrass them a little. Effective
Discomfort
sometimes.
is so effective.
Effective.
So here's
other
the
times.
interesting
Not
thing. I
effective
think
other
there is a spectrum of shame to discomfort. People react very badly to shame.
Yes.
Like very, very badly.
It's a last resort, but to be clear.
I
You
mean,
do not
no
whip
choice.
that out all crazy.
real badly. Whereas, people are so unused to discomfort that sometimes the unfamiliarity of it surprises them. They're
Yes.
like, oh, what is this? I've just been told that I was wrong.
Yes.
I feel like I'm being treated unfairly. What is this?
What is this? I'm so unusual. Insulated by my privilege all these years. And so figuring out your nuclear options and then figuring out the
Yeah.
steps before the nuclear option
yeah.
is very helpful.
Yes.
Because
Big fan of that.
yeah. And understanding that sometimes what you think is the thing that you have to do in the short term and sometimes where you want to get to in the long term are not compatible. Right? There have been many times that I didn't burn things down immediately.
Me looking over my life and my choices. Many a chance I had to burn it all down, but I had mercy.
Where I just turned to the group WhatsApp and I was like,
Yes. Hit up the group chat like, yo.
I was like, you wouldn't believe this thing I didn't just say, but I'm going to tell you what I was thinking, but I didn't say it out loud.
Roasts of years past. Yes.
But then I took the high productive road because I was like, all right. But then again, you also have to balance that with give people 3 strikes, but then after that, give them nothing. It's generally my life goal.
Oof.
That is such a solid metric. Give them 3 shots and then nothing.
Nothing. They're like,
cut off.
You're done.
Yes.
You're dead to me.
Amen.
It's over. Nuclear option every time.
Ooh, yes.
Okay, here's another one for you. Hi, Stacy-Marie.
Hey.
After frustrations in my current role, which I've been at for 2.5 years, I decided to start job hunting for other roles within the company. The company is in tech. I was straightforward and told my manager about it, and after a few conversations, he said that he's willing to make space for me on the current team and will put me up for promotion the next cycle, which at the writing of this was in March.
Okay.
The new role would be more strategic and lead to more opportunities long-term within the new organization. But a promotion in my current role would put me at a level where I could much more easily become a people manager. Besides the work itself, money, and growing my skills, are there other factors I should be considering? Should I weigh the promotion more than the other factors? Thanks. Love your newsletter. Caroline.
Embedded in this question is a birds in the hand, birds in the bush kind of situation, right? Like, do
I
you
don't know what these words mean.
do you okay? So ancient
She's a
management
baby.
proverb
Thank you, everyone.
is a promotion now that has an immediate reward better than waiting for something that might happen later that has like a more strategic thing. And one of the ways I think about this question is, well, what are you trying to do, right? There is, do you want to manage people, or do you just see managing people as more prestigious and potentially more rewarded than something else that's coming in 6 months? And there's a bunch of different ways of thinking about this. One of the most useful pieces of advice that I got from one of my sponsors is, how much do you weight each of the different things in your life? Like, how much do you weight salary versus location versus unbridled autonomy and getting to do whatever I want versus any of the other things that you might think about? And that was very helpful because I realized that I do love getting to do whatever I want, but I also value getting to run interesting projects that are less predictable, which often means having to be slightly less senior, because the more senior you get, the more predictable your life tends to become. And one of the things about this question is, I am not sure, and I can't tell why you are trying to make this move. Are you trying to make this move because after 2.5 years you feel like you should have been promoted? Are you trying to make this move because what you're trying to get access to is more interesting strategic things? Are you trying to make this move because you see this as the only way to make more money? And whenever you are thinking about a promotion, whether it's internal, whether it's external, whether you're like, I need to leave companies, whatever, you have to be really clear with yourself about what you're trying to get, right? Like, moving for the sake of moving is just a whole different set of organizational politics that you might not have been prepared for. Moving because you know specifically that there's a kind of experience that you want, or there's a salary that you haven't had access to, or there's a country that you want to live in, that makes so much more sense than thinking in really abstract terms about like the prestige of something that you don't know what the day-to-day work is like. And that's also a conversation to have with your manager, right? A conversation about a promotion is never just, hey, reward me because I'm awesome. It's, hey, here's the next level of things that I think I'm ready for. Here's how I've demonstrated that I'm ready for it. Here's the value that I can bring when I do that. And that's going to get you much further than being like, I've been here for 2.5 years and I haven't been promoted. Like, I don't care. You know, I as a manager, but also me. You know, the thing that you have to be able to make the case for is that you have reached your like maximum level of contribution in the place that you are, and that the next place that you should be aligns with what makes sense for your team, for your managers, and the people who have to make that decision. And that's how generally how I think about evaluating opportunities. And it's certainly something that has served me much more usefully than just, do I want to manage people or do I want to manage process? Because that answer changes depending on where you are and all of the other variables.
So considered. So measured.
Yeah. It's just so amazing to me that I've been in the workforce for a considerable amount of years. I didn't start working until later in life, but, you know, I've been in the workforce for a long time. Yeah, you know what I mean? And my mother was like, you just need to focus on school, which meant I never had any money to do shit, which means I stayed out of trouble, which I think was her plan the whole time.
Diabolical parenting.
30 years later, I see it. But it's amazing how long I've been in the workforce, but I still know, like, none of this stuff. Like, even, like, a lot of the questions that people, like, ask us to ask you, I'm like, how do you even think about this sort of stuff? You know? Like, I just feel like the workplace and, like, the stuff that goes on behind the scenes is just so mystifying and confusing, and you just make it
Deliberately
make sense.
so.
Yeah.
Deliberately so.
Right.
Sorry, this is going to be a dumb question, but do you like always know how your sentences will end? Like, do you? I'm not joking.
That's a good question.
Do you practice talking?
Do you practice?
Is this just a question that I am interested in? Because I feel like in these situations, I'm just like, I know what I want to say, but I don't have the words quite down, or I'm just like super nervous.
I'm a strong advocate of practicing difficult conversations. And a difficult conversation is not just the one that you have with your boss. It might also be the friend that you've blown off like 7 times and now you've run out of reasons for why you haven't shown up.
That's real. That's real.
I also do a lot of internal monologuing. Don't know about you. It's like a very super villain habit.
Yeah, same. I do that.
But I do find I often write things down. I write down the points that I want to make. And then I find that it loosens me up. I also try to find like my most judgmental friend who's available and practice on them and get some feedback on, am I being clear? Did this come across well? Did my eyebrows go up too much? You know,
that's real. My eyebrows be going up.
Yeah, I am constantly betrayed by my face. Yes. And so knowing that I have very expressive eyebrows and you know immediately when I'm unimpressed with you, I'm like, all right, bring it in.
Oh my God.
That's a superpower.
So read my whole life.
Yeah.
Before we go, we know how uncomfortable compliments make you, so we want to give you some from somebody other than us. But I feel like I know for sure that you have no idea the impact that your appearances on this show, your existence in the world and on Twitter, just like you really like upgrade people's lives and you make them better. And like as your friend, I always feel bad because I spend 95% of our time together just like in awe of you.
Oh no.
And I'm just like, I'm sure she wants to feel like a regular person. Like chill out. Like you know her. It's cool.
Oh, it's true though.
It's
true,
so true. And you deliver like just wisdom, like straight, no chaser, but you do it like from a place of love, quite evidently. You know what? Let me chill.
Love and sarcasm.
Let me not ascribe your love like I know. But you are affecting people, and we would like to share a couple of really nice letters. They're short, you know. It's cool. Tana says, OMG and Stacy-Marie. Her career corner gave me the courage to start separating myself from a job in which every day was an exercise and not flipping a table.
That's the realist.
Yo, that coupled with the emphasis on self-care finally got me to move away from New York City to Denver to bask in open air, sunlight, and mountains, something I've needed to do for probably the last 6 years. You got somebody to move. I don't know how many states away.
That's a lot of states.
Many states away.
I do truly wholeheartedly co-sign that. I feel like for me, just personally, the basic revelation that like you putting way too much expectations into what you want out of a job.
Yeah,
that's a lot.
Or you're just not thinking about what it is that you really want. Like if you're going to a place that you hate every day, maybe don't go there anymore. That's the thing that like we're not trained to think about because we're trained to like carry the world on our backs. Everybody hates their job. Take your black ass to work. Exactly.
Do all the things.
Yeah.
That's real. That's real.
Letitia says, when you first had Stacy-Marie on, her story inspired me. Just hearing that Trinidadian accent for the first time gave me life.
Trini gang, brah, brah, brah.
Come on, Caribbean vibes.
All right.
Yeah.
Shout out to 868.
Hey. I don't know what those numbers mean, but yeah.
Area code Trinidad.
Oh, I should have known that. You are visibly uncomfortable, so I'm not going to make you sit through the last one. You are helping people to see themselves. And they're just going crazy with the newfound freedom and strength, girl. You're having
it me.
Same. Stacy-Marie, thank you so much for
always a pleasure.
Always a treat.
We miss you so much because you be so far away and then we be all way over here.
Come to California more often.
California, here we come.
Wait, are we doing the Tupac version?
Oh, no, that was the white guy. That was the white guy version. That was the OC version.
Okay.
California.
Those hard parties.
Oh, I see the mashup, the remix. Stacy-Marie, thank you so much.
DJ Caribbean vibes.
Deep cut.
Bringing it back. Oh, my God.
Where can people find you and your work on the internet?
I'm mostly just on Twitter, really. At S_M_I.
Team_.
Please do not explain things to me on the internet.
One, yes. Two, you know what I also love about your Twitter?
What up?
Just consistently shots fired every day, every morning. I wake up.
I'd be like,
y'all
Stacey, it's 7 in the morning. You got the chopper singing, ain't nobody up to hear it.
You know, I drink a lot of coffee. What can I say?
Yes.
I love it. I'm a huge fan of your Twitter. Huge fan of you.
Let the chopper spray on all the industries.
Amongst them all.
Amongst them
I'm
all.
an equal opportunity caller outer.
Yes.
Yes. And they got to be called out. Y'all got to do better. Listen to Stacy-Marie.
Follow Stacy-Marie. She fixed your life. You're welcome. Bye. Bye. I'm very excited to buy rounds.
Ooh, who you buying around for, Tracy McGee?
Not who, but what?
Ooh, what?
I am buying around for truffle-flavored things.
Interesting. I feel like this is new.
I don't be messing with the fun guy like that. I don't really love
First
mushrooms.
of all, I only recently learned truffle and mushrooms are connected. I just feel like truffle is just like, I don't know, a fancy shaving thing.
Yeah, that's what I always thought. And I then was confused for a long time whether or not it was mushrooms or like chocolate. Because there's like chocolate truffles. And I'm just like, what is? And then Nicki Minaj got truffle butter.
And then
I'm just
you
like,
Google that. And that's the whole thing. You know?
I had to deal with that. It was a lot.
All right. So what is a truffle, Tracy?
I believe that a truffle is
what do you
some
like?
form of mushroom.
Okay.
And I'm not going to start spouting off not true things about truffles.
Okay.
Because I don't really know shit about
What
shit.
is it that you like?
The taste.
Truffle
like,
what? Truffle.
Oh, just truffle flavored like things in general.
Oh,
not,
okay.
Not
Just
actual
generally.
truffles. If you put like an actual truffle on
I
my
don't
plate,
even know
I
what an
wouldn't
actual
eat it.
truffle is.
It's just like this big, weird,
I'm
like,
Googling.
shaped, dirty thing. I don't know. So from what I hear about truffles, word on the street about truffles,
Okay.
is that
Talk
they are
to me.
so rare. Partially because you can't like grow them. You just have to go find them, right?
Huh.
You just have to go forage for truffles. Like there are people who have like truffle sniffing dogs and shit like that.
What?
Isn't that crazy? And because they're so rare and so the demand is so high, they cost more per gram, I think, than gold
What?
or as much. So that's important because once you know that,
I know it's supposed to be fancy.
yeah, super super fancy, and very
It conveys
opulent.
fancy.
Yeah, so it doesn't matter if I'm eating like the chips we had earlier today. We had some truffle potato chips, free. You can get them like anywhere at any store, a couple dollars probably. But I just felt so decadent because I was just like, oh my, the truffle flavor in this is just divine. You know, just because I'm just like, oh, it's a truffle and it's fancy. But beyond that, it actually does taste really good. I really love truffle flavored pastas, like pastas with truffle oil, truffle mac and cheese. There's a restaurant called Extra Virgin in Brooklyn. I think it's in Brooklyn. And they have a truffle mac and cheese tart.
Ooh.
Oh my gosh. It's basically just like truffle mac and cheese with like a biscuit on top. Oh! Come on. How you not been there
I
yet?
feel seen. Wow.
Beautiful.
Wow.
I love a truffle French fries.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like I'm just really getting into truffles, so the possibilities are like endless. What other truffle flavored things can I eat? I don't know.
How do you know if it's like good truffle or bad truffle?
Girl, I don't know. I can't
Like
tell
what
you.
are, like how do you know? I don't know. Like
I mean, I would just assume that like the more it costs, then the better it is. But I don't know shit about shit. But honestly, like I love the flavor so much that like whether or not it's like real truffle oil or like not, I don't care. Just tell me it is.
lie to me.
And I'm in there. But yeah, shout out to truffles and truffle flavored things.
Ooh.
Who or what is your round for?
So I've been thinking a lot about who's been like my career mentors, real and imagined. Like we have an imagined relationship. We don't actually know each other.
Oh, who are your imagined career mentors? Am I getting ahead of the
Beyonce, Giselle, Knowles Carter.
Oh, duh.
Duh. That is who my career. That is who my round is for. The women in my life who have given me career advice who don't even know it. So I feel like Beyonce is a person we all grew up with. So she's like, when you see her making moves, you're just like, yes, bitch, I too can make moves. You know? And she knows that. And she's like, oh, she bears the pressure of that, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But
and she still stays so true to herself and like
so
her
true
black
to
ass
herself
self throughout.
Yes, and I really, really admire that, and I feel like it's so hard to do in like in a world that's constantly asking you to compromise yourself. So I'm thinking through my life and my career, and Beyonce's a figure, and one of the ways she's been a career figure for me right now is I've been looking at all the stuff she put out, the interviews with herself she did for the self-titled album, the surprise album. Remember when she did that?
You just woke up one day and it was Christmas and you didn't understand how it happened?
Exactly. So she had to give a little context, and she's like, here's the interview I will give you. And she gave you self-titled, and she broke down it into 5 parts of like explaining a little bit what the album was, the need for the visual, blah, blah, blah.
When I was in the studio, I was threading the songs together, and I thought of this performance, which was a really defining moment in my life as a child.
The hip-hop rapping Girls Time.
In my mind, we would perform on Star Search. We would win, we would get a record deal, and that was my dream at the time. There's no way in the world I would have ever imagined losing as a possibility.
The judges give champion Skeleton Crew 4 stars. A perfect score, the challenger Girls Time receives 3 stars.
You know, I was only 9 years old, so at that time, you don't realize that you could actually work super hard and give everything you have and lose. It was the best message for me. When I put Ed McMahon introducing us as the hip-hop rapping
Girls Time.
it clicked something in my mind. I feel like something about the aggression of Bow Down and the attitude of Flawless, the reality is sometimes you lose. And you're never too good to lose. You're never too big to lose. You're never too smart to lose. It happens, and it happens when it needs to happen. And you have to embrace those things.
I feel like just in every Beyonce interview, she's not always directly talking about something. Like, okay, maybe she's talking about this like childhood competition she had. Maybe she's talking about something a little more current in her life that she don't want to tell you about. I feel like there's a lot of reading in between the lines I do with her interviews that remind me that women have come before me, they have forged on, that, I don't know.
And that the greats have failed.
Yeah. I feel like even Stacy-Marie was mentioning this point about like, you just expect, all right, if you do all the things, you do them well, you're well researched, you come, you're always on point, like, and then nothing happens.
Yeah.
You can still lose.
But she was like, sometimes you lose and you'll lose at the right time.
Yes.
I was like, ooh.
Yeah.
Because like thinking about like loss and failure as like things that are just like supposed to happen and not things that happen to you because you weren't good enough. It's just like you're alive and you're trying to think. So obviously you're going to fail sometimes. Yeah, I'm inspired by now. I like this round. First I'm like, I don't know. I'm just like, yes, girl.
Thank you, Beyonce, my career mentor.
Aw.
I'm a grown woman. I can do whatever I want.
That's such a perfect round for the Stacy-Marie episode.
Yes, Stacy
Full
and Beyonce.
Oh, what else do you need in life?
I know.
Heaven, guess what we did?
We made it.
Oh my God, we survived another day. I can't believe it.
It's a surprise every time.
God. Never think we can do it.
And then we do.
Thank you from the very bottom of our hearts to Stacy-Marie Ishmael. You can follow her on Twitter at @S_M_I. Shout out to the Pod Squad, per usual. This episode was produced by Nina Patak and Agarinesh Ashagre, with editorial oversight from Eleanor Kagan and production support from Julia Furlan and Alex Laughlin. Music. Shout out to our in-house musicians, Miss Jean Gray. You can follow her on Twitter at Jean Greasy. And if you live in Brooklyn, go to some of the fun stuff that she does, like the shows and stuff that she be having for y'all. And Don Will of the Almighty Tanya Morgan, you can follow him on Twitter at Don Will. Thanks to Hassizzle for the dope bounce remix. We are still twerking and backing it up. Follow Heaven on Twitter at Heaven Rants. She be ranting and stuff. And she's so heavenly.
Both lies. I don't be talking. I'm hellish.
You can follow me on Twitter at Brokey McPoverty. Wish that was a lie, but it's not. Email us at Another Round. Tweet us at Another Round. Facebook us at Another Round. All the things Another Round. Rate us on iTunes. Tell a friend. 5-star reviews if you please. Nominate us for big fancy awards and stuff.
Yeah.
Nobel Peace Prizes, if you will. Emmys. You can't nominate people for that, can you? I don't know. Write us in for an Emmy. Subscribe to our newsletter. It's so good. You can do that at BuzzFeed.com/AnotherRound/newsletter. Drink some water. Take your meds. Call your person. Eat some truffle stuff, y'all. It's good.
Find out what a truffle is. Learn a thing.
I don't have any more advice. Go outside.
We've given you so much good advice.
You're welcome.
Run it all back. Bye.
Bye.
Reunited.
And it feels so good.
All right, electric guitar.